everyone. Welcome back to another episode of ResearchWorks podcast. We're here at EACD, Galway, Ireland. We have been enjoying all of our conversations so far. I hope you have too. We've been talking about the F words and how it's embedded in everyday practice. And I've just been learning so much. I hope you've been enjoying it. Today, I actually have by a special request from one of our listeners, actually, to make sure we speak to the people at EI Smart. And I have here, sitting next to me, Betty Hutchon. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, no, thank you for inviting me, Dana. It's a huge honour. Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you here. And when I look into the work that you do, I can't wait to ask you more questions. Your team are presenting on EI Smart. In fact, your presentation is titled, and it's got like all my favourite words. It's a long title, but it's got my favourite words.
It's long.
Transforming the experience for families in early intervention whilst optimising outcomes for infants and young children with developmental challenges using EI Smart, a multidisciplinary and co-produced evidence-based framework. But it's got all the right words in there, right? So, Betty, take us through, let's start from the beginning a little bit here.
Yeah.
What is EI Smart? How did it come about?
All right.
Yeah, let's go there.
Okay. It's 10 years old today. Not today, sorry, this year. It's 10 years old.
Birthday to EI Smart.
And it came about really because I had worked a long time in early intervention.
Right.
And
your background is by
I'm an occupational therapist.
Great, fantastic.
And I was one of the first OTs on the neonatal unit in the UK, and I think the second person in the UK to have done NIDCAP. And but I was really interested in neurology and development, and was working in the follow-up of high-risk infants, and was just actually really worried about some of the approaches out there that and some of the services that parents were being offered, which I knew had absolutely no evidence at all.
Right.
And I think working in London, there's a lot on offer, both privately and within the NHS.
Yeah, sure.
And so I was worried about the service that parents were being offered. And I also saw that parents would do anything for their child.
Absolutely.
I always say they would sell a kidney.
Yeah.
They would do anything.
Yeah, that's right.
And so when you think about the time and effort and money that parents put into taking their child, their baby to interventions, which may not be very effective. That's really what worried me. And I thought, and then on the other side, you had the research coming through, but it wasn't being put into practice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and that's really, I thought, we really need to do better. We really need to do better. And that's just where it came from. And I thought, okay, let's just do a literature review. We know what doesn't work. Let's see what does work. And we did the literature review, which we pulled out all these, we called them active ingredients for effective early intervention.
Fabulous.
And then we were thinking about a name, because if you're going to have a new model or a new approach, it has to have a name. Because if it doesn't have a name, nobody knows what you do.
That's right. You can't define it.
You can't define it, you can't measure it, you can't count it.
That's right.
And so the themes that came out, sensory is obviously important, motor is obviously important, then attention and regulation, and relationships.
Beautiful.
And so this is how, and together, the T is really important, and the T is together with parents. Fantastic. But also the threads, we now call them threads, the SM, A and R together, but then also the multidisciplinary team together.
Beautiful.
So the T is...
puts it all together, quite literally. It's a good word, yes. Oh, wow.
So, and then it just kind of...
And that was 10 years ago?
And that is 10 years ago this year.
So you are essentially service providers as well as carrying out research, or like how does that actually work? How do people...
So, well, I always think of myself as a clinician.
Yeah.
And so it was really to improve clinical practice. But of course you need the research, but it came from a place of reviewing the evidence.
Lovely.
So taking other people's evidence for what works and putting it into practice.
Yeah. Put into a framework that makes sense for people to, because there's a big gap, isn't there? You can have an RCT, you can have everything that's
gap.
written. Right.
Yeah.
And that gap is not as small as people think it is. There's so many barriers sometimes, and you do need to break it down.
You do.
So that's what you do.
And also, often people don't understand. They, the articles, and it was also taking all that evidence and making it, applying it, and helping people understand it. And that's where it kind of all came from, and it's just kind of grown. And I think I often ask myself, gosh, why has it grown so fast and so much? And I think it's it's a very logical, practical approach.
Sure.
Based on the evidence.
Yeah.
And people find it easy to understand. I think because I was involved in teaching a previous baby course, I found that maybe with some colleagues, if they made things very advanced, it made them look smart. And I always wanted to, let's simplify, let's not simplify it, but make things easy to understand.
Simplification, yeah, that's
and also, in therapy, if someone can't replicate what you have done,
that's right,
or what you're suggesting, or if the parent is not able,
absolutely,
it's totally pointless.
That's right. It just falls right there, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. And that was, and I don't know, in the old days, people used to talk about someone having magic hands.
I've heard that.
No.
Here I come, roll my sleeves up, I can do it. Yes, I can influence their tone. And, the terminology of their tone just melts away with my hands. There was that guru status, wasn't there? And that really disempowers the parents who come to you with this, medical model. What can you do with my child? Whereas they're with them every day.
Because, and where the parents are getting that is from the gurus. And then, so that's what they come to expect.
That's right.
That, I come in, I put my baby on the floor, this person will do something. And so it was really to turn all that around to say, that this is the work that is not based on evidence, and actually let's,
Betty, I love everything about that, and it's very exciting to hear the journey and how you developed and where you are now. You can certainly see the co-design element into all of that. Can you give me an example of some of the practical strategies that you provide for clinicians? You've got the evidence base, and then you've got the teaching them actually how to do it in everyday practice. Can you give me a bit of an example of what that looks like?
So that's what we're doing on the baby course, and that takes quite a lot of teaching, when the therapists come, because we say the first thing you're going to do, you're going to be sitting on the floor with the parents, and you're going to, ask the parents what would they like, and what is their goal. Great. And you're starting with what the baby can do, always starting with what the baby can do. So we're not, and we also, a lot of it is about communication as well, and not asking parents, can your baby sit? Can your baby roll? This is a very negative experience for parents.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
We talk to people, ask open questions, say, what does your baby like to do?
Beautiful.
Start the question, start the relationship like this, because EI Smart is, relationship-based care, and so relational model.
Yes.
And so we also teach, if you don't get the relationship right with the parent, it's...
That's right.
So
fundamental, isn't it?
And that's the starting point. And I think if you start from that place of, tell me about your baby, what do they like to do? What positions do they like? Are there some positions they don't like? What do they like to play with? So starting with that, talking to the parent about what their concerns are, what are they worried about?
Great.
And then taking that to work out this co-produced the goal.
Yes.
And I think this is where the therapist skill comes in.
Absolutely.
We always say that you need to come with your kind of technical background. So that when the parent says, well, I would like my baby to be able to reach for a book and open the book, or I would like my baby to be able to just look at me and smile and interact. Or I would like my baby to be able to, sit and grab a toy. That the therapist can break that down and say, that's a great goal. I love that goal. And here's what could be a good starting point. Would you be what do you think of this starting point? And then let's see what's practical for you in your everyday life at home.
Beautiful.
So, and they have to be practical activities. They have to be, so it could be looking, the parent-infant kind of looking and smiling. It could be reading a book. It could be sitting. It could be changing a nappy.
Yes.
It could be, these are the things that parents, they often say, well, nappy changing is a nightmare. My baby cry. It's so stressful for me. It's so stressful for the baby. So looking at, well, let's look at that together. Let's see what can we work out together.
Yeah.
And everything about EI Smart has to be based on everyday activities that the parents can implement, because people often ask us about dosage is a big thing.
Yes.
How often should I do this?
Yes.
And so we think about, well, what's your daily routine? What are your daily activities? It's not about taking an hour a day to do therapy. It's about practical activities that just...
They're routines-based, whatever you're doing during the day.
Yeah. Throughout. Yeah. So if it's picking your baby up, EI Smart has a way of, that would be helpful to the baby, would support the baby's development, that the parent will find helpful, putting your baby down. So it's very much based on, So that's what we're training or teaching people in the baby course. This is where to start, and then work. Kind of then going back a little bit to analysis of the activity. How can I'm starting from where the baby's at, what the baby can do. Then look at what the next day. The Just Right challenge is one of our things in EI Smart, because parents say, we don't want goals that are too easy. We want something that challenges our baby, but is also fun. And is doable.
Yes.
And we can see progress.
That's right. And motivating, isn't it? When you see that.
And the baby has to be actively doing it. There is no passive.
Self-initiating the movement. It's, that's fantastic. So in all what you described is basically like all the themes of the F words are in there, Betsy, aren't they? And I can see all the layers of the evidence that are there as well, really, isn't it? But I love that you actually do teach the communication element of it, because it's incredible, isn't it? And I've spoken about it with many people in the podcast, you can have the technical skills.
Yes.
But the soft skills actually, it relies on the delivery and that rapport building and how to set goals together. And I think that's often missing in courses that we do. That's just such a wonderful addition.
It is.
Very unique.
And I learned that years ago from Dr. Brusselton, who I studied with way back years ago in Boston. And I remember learning about relationship-based care and also reading some research that showed that with therapy, it wasn't the amount of sessions that the child had. It was the relationship you created with the parent, so that the parent trusted you, felt that you respected them, liked you, and then you had a much more engaging, relationship. And it just made such sense to me. And
it's the quality of the engagement is often what we talk about, isn't it? On all levels, the quality of the engagement, parent to therapist, as well as with the child, and fostering that from child to parent. So within all of that as well, are there certain outcome measures that are taken or recommended or used? Is it mostly through goal setting? How does that work?
Yes, we're working. This is a work in progress. And we have our own EI Smart goal template.
Okay.
But we call it an activity template.
Okay.
Because one parent, everything we do, EI Smart, in EI Smart, parents are part of the team. We're talking, listening to parents, working with parents all the time. And, some parents have said to us, well, we don't really like the word goal in relation to our child. We don't think about our child with goals. We just want to do things, activities. So in EI Smart, we call it an activity. And the parent picks the activities that are important to them and the things they want to do. And as I said, it could be nappy changing, it could be sitting and reaching for a toy, it could be, just the baby taking their hands to their mouth, something like this.
Fantastic, yeah.
And then that's broken down into the SMANR.
Okay.
So what are the sensory components of that? What are the motor components?
Yes.
What about the attention and regulation? And what are the relationship aspects of it?
Yes.
And I think the relationship aspects I dwell on quite a lot in teaching, because I feel in the past there were a lot of things that therapists did which didn't support the parent-infant relationship, actually put pressure on the parent to do things to the child that caused the child distress, which therefore made the parent stressed.
Sure.
So they felt guilty if they did it, and they felt guilty if they didn't do it.
Yeah, and it becomes this horrible cycle, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so that aspect of everything, how does this support the parent-infant relationship?
Beautiful.
So that's how, but it's measured a bit like a gas goal, at the minute. But we would love to in the team really, do something very innovative with the.
It's always going to be a challenge, and the next step to go to, isn't it? And that's the beauty of being in this area, is that we've never arrived, have we? We are constantly learning, and that's why we're here at these conferences to go, okay, well, what are the tools available that we can integrate? We don't need to keep reinventing the wheel, right?
That's what Peter was talking about yesterday, Peter Rosenbaum, challenging and saying, well, we don't know.
That's right.
We don't know all these things, and
it's important for us to realise that and accept that and take on that challenge. One thing I'm really interested in here, actually, as you talk through the SMART acronym, and it's something that I don't think gets talked about a lot, yet is commonly experienced in clinical practice. Like, I know this, like attention and regulation.
Yes.
Often I've seen it written in the EI, Kathy Morgan, Anna Novak's EI framework. And they'll talk about this neuroirritability that happens in children under 2. And that, the child's always crying. It's very difficult to settle. You obviously have experience of this, given you're an OT, and you've got that in the acronym. What is the current evidence base around that, and what are some of the strategies around that? Because it feels like it's a hard
really
one.
Important. It's a hard one, and it's really, really important because your attention and regulation is really, is what. It's part of your social emotional development.
That's right.
And your social emotional development, I suppose, the foundations for your social emotional development, and your social emotional development is the most important aspect of your development for school readiness.
That's right.
And it's something neglected by physios, OTs, and
absolutely. You can't deal with it when you get there and go, that was tricky, wasn't it?
And many of the high-risk infants we see, the parents will say later on, well, everybody focused on the physical, or they focused on something else. Nobody mentioned my child might have attention problems. And now that I look back, I feel I could have been doing something. So it's to avoid that, to avoid parents looking back thinking, I missed an opportunity. I should have been doing. So, and actually, although it's complicated, it's embedded in the parent-infant relationship.
Yes, okay.
And so that's where it starts. And so there is, there's very good research around that about how you promote attention and regulation. And so, again, my interest in that was sparked by my work years ago with Dr. Brusselton about, learning through my work with him. So I think that it's something that we really want to bring in because although people talk a lot about predicting the outcomes of the infants, many infants have different outcomes and we actually don't know what the outcome's going to be. And sometimes it can be very different from what the MRI might indicate.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we want to cover development holistically. And also we know an infant, young child only learns something, when they're content and alert.
That's right.
Not when they're crying.
Not when they're crying. Yeah, that's right.
So,
and is that part of the teaching as well? Is
and
they're
that's
crying,
part of it.
We're not going to be pushing, it's going to be
we're going to
listening.
It's a sign that it's a communication from the baby that they're in distress. We're going to stop, we're going to think about it, we're going to wonder what caused this, what would be helpful, how do we help this baby self-regulate, and what strategies could we work out together with the parent. And it's really important. And maybe the cases you're talking about the babies with very severe HIE, that those babies who do spend the first year very irritable and may get more irritable because of cerebral irritation.
Yeah.
And I think that is, very complex, and it's very...
But it's acknowledging it, isn't it?
It's acknowledging exactly with the parents.
And knowing that, I think from my experience, it's being able to say, I know this is really hard, looks like we're not doing anything, but we actually need to give the child space. Yeah. Because I think in the parent's mind as well, it's like, the first few years, neuroplasticity, we've got to do something. Yeah. And you hear these narratives of, crying is a sign of effort. Yeah. And it's not a bad thing, because they'll cry when they go to school and like, no, this child needs to learn that we're listening to them. Yeah. And I think that it's brilliant that you have this here to kind of go, no, we need to stop. We need to find out why and take our time.
We need to be respectful to this baby and really think about communication from with the baby.
Communication strategy for them, right?
Yeah. And so it's not okay. We say to people, it's not okay to just keep going if the baby's crying.
Right. And that's important in itself, isn't it?
And even sometimes if we can't do anything, like you say, just to acknowledge it with the parent. Yeah. And
it's powerful.
Yeah.
It really can be.
Yeah, to be there with
do something.
To be there with the parent.
Yeah. Betty, how do people get access? I'm sure people listening go, I want in. How do we get hooked in with the EI Smart?
Okay.
So therapists who are listening or parents who are listening go, I want my therapist to be aligned with this. What can they do?
It's all free. We're all volunteers. Nobody is paid. Oh. So it's just the passion to improve early intervention and to work more closely in co-production with parents and to improve outcomes. So all our resources are on the website, which are all freely available, which people can download and so on.
Wow.
However, for the study days or for the training, because we do pay people who teach.
Then they're in person.
Yes.
Great.
Well, there's some online, which are on the website.
Okay.
And then the baby course is very much in person because parents come with their babies.
Oh,
lovely. And it's a very...
everyone's learning together.
And everyone's learning together.
Wonderful. What a great model.
And I think that's really important to be in the room with families because co-production, you have to do it with a family. You can't just talk about it theoretically.
That's right.
That it has
Enough of that. We need to try to actually implement it, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, you can talk about it till the cows come home. We've got to actually do it, don't we? I love the practical implications of everything that you do. Betty, I think I could talk to you for a very long time. So we must make sure we continue to connect on this. A question that I'm asking everyone on the podcast in this conference series is a final note of advice from you. So Betty, what would your advice be for clinicians to implement more of the F words into their practice? What would you say that would be?
Well, I suppose I would say learn more about EI Smart because it's all about everyday activities and fun and family and participation. And I think EI Smart is very well aligned with the F words. And I think that EI Smart could give people a framework to more easily implement them into their into their therapy. So
you're literally gap fillers here. It's fantastic. We need more people that do this. It's so inspiring. Betty, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and sharing the story. And to all of our listeners, I hope you really enjoyed that. Like, there's so many resources that you can get a hold of, and everyone's always looking for resources, and especially when they're evidence-based. There are good tools here, and so really encourage
parents.
Absolutely. And that's, as we're learning, it's such a core, integral part of everything that we do. So hope you enjoyed that. There's so much more to come. So we'll talk to you all again really soon. Bye.